The teachings of Rabbi Ephraim Sprecher, Dean of Students at Diaspora Yeshiva on Mount Zion, Jerusalem.
Today we'll be speaking about may men and women cross-dress on Purim. There's an issur in the Torah not to cross-dress. In Parshas Kiteitzei, it says men and women are not allowed to wear each other's clothes. The question is, what about on Purim, when anything goes or everything goes on Purim? What about cross-dressing on Purim? Is that permitted? Is there an exception to the rule? And why do we celebrate? Why do we hide our identity on Purim? Why do we masquerade on Purim? Get it? Masquerade. Well, Megillah, why is it called Megillat Esther? Why not Megillat Hadassah? Her name was Hadassah. Esther was a Persian name. Her Hebrew name was Hadassah. Well, Megillat Esther means Legalot et Hester, to reveal the hidden one. Just like Esther did not reveal her identity. So who's hiding in the Megillah? The big boss. So since God is wearing a mask in the Megillah, so v'alachta b'drachav, the mitzvah in the Torah, v'alachta b'drachav, mahu afata, what does that mean? Walk in his ways. So since God is masquerading in the Megillah, hiding behind what? What seems to be random events, so we masquerade. We're imitating the big boss. Mahu afata. B'shenechtes Adar marben b'simcha. Even Hashem b'simcha all the time, but Adar, we have this extra degree of joy. The month of Adar, Aleph Daled Reish, stands for Ein Dovar Ra. Aleph Daled Reish, Ein Dovar Ra. Haman actually was good for the Jews. It looked like he was bad for the Jews, but the Gemara Megillah says that Haman did more for the Tshuva movement than all of the 48 Nevi'im in Tanakh. All the Nevi'im told us to do Tshuva, and we ignored them. Comes along Haman with the final solution, and all the Jews become Haredi. So Ein Dovar Ra, even Haman, in a bizarre way, was good for the Jews. He caused the Jews, Kimu v'kiblu ha-Yehudim. He caused the Jews to accept the Torah again. This time by Ahava. That was because of Haman. Because of Haman's evil decree, the Jewish people accepted the Torah again. So therefore, we name a Danish after Haman. You wouldn't call an Arafat Danish or Abu Mamzer Cookie. What do you call Haman Tashim for? And even more bizarre, in Hebrew it's called Oznei Haman. Oznei Haman it's called. It doesn't look like an ear, it looks like a triangle. So it's called Oznei Haman. The word Ozen means ear. Because of Haman, we gave ear to doing tshuva. Incredible. So we call a Danish after Arafat, after Haman, because in a bizarre way, because of Haman, we remain Jewish. If it wasn't for Haman, the Jewish people would have assimilated, destroyed, but because Haman's evil decree, Oznei Haman, we gave Ozen to listen to the Torah, and Kimu v'kiblu ha-Yehudim, and the Jewish people received the Torah again. Now, why is Purim 2 days? Isn't it enough one day to get drunk? Purim is really 2 days. We celebrate it on different days. Jerusalem's a different day, but actually Purim is both days. You're supposed to have a meal on both days. What happened on Purim? Kimu v'kiblu ha-Yehudim. The Jews accepted the Torah again. This time by Ahava, not a shotgun wedding like in Virginia. This time we accepted the Torah willingly and lovingly because of whom? Amen. Because of whom? Haman. So Ein Dovar Ra, but seemed to be evil. Kodesh Baruch Hu behind the mask, behind the events, God is pulling the strings, even though things look like they happened by Kowinky Dinky. So God is wearing a mask, so therefore we wear masks on Purim to imitate the big boss.
Supposed to have a meal on both days?
Yes, you're supposed to have a meal on both days, right? It's Purim both days. But we celebrate it on the 15th, and the rest of the world on the 14th. But Yimei Purim Eileh, it's both days are actually what? Purim. Question is when you celebrate it. So why is Purim 2 days? Because on Purim we accepted 2 Torahs. We accepted the written and the oral. So to celebrate the 2 Torahs that we accepted on Purim again, this time not being forced, but be'ahavas hanes, so therefore we celebrate 2 days Purim in honor of accepting the what? Two Torahs. Kimu v'kibla Yehudim. And that's strange, and that's because of what? Haman. And therefore we name a cookie after him. Very strange. Very strange, right? That's one reason to get drunk on Purim. I can't stay sober. We need to be makir toiv to Haman. It takes a Haman to tell us to be Jewish, to remind us to be Jewish. I can't stay sober. I got to get smashed for that.
Amen.
But anyway, let's take a look at our source sheets. Is cross-dressing permitted on Purim? Let's take a look at source number 2. One of the mitzvahs on Purim is to have a meal. So source number 2, the Rambam says, Hilchas Megillah, Keitzad Choyva Sudazu, the obligation on Purim to have a meal, Shiroichal Bosra Yitaken Suda No, the Rambam says you have to have meat and have a beautiful meal, as much as you can afford. Again, the Rambam doesn't mention lechem. So, my good friend Yehuda said he doesn't have to mention lechem because the word suda means lechem. But other poskim say, the Rambam is very exact, he doesn't mention bread, so perhaps you don't have to wash on Purim. But other poskim disagree, but the Rambam does mention you have basar v'yayin. V'shote yayin in source number 2, atzeh yishtaker b'yirdam. You have to drink wine until you become shikr and you go to sleep. The purpose of the drinking is what? To go to sleep. That's the purpose of the drinking. All the poskim follow the Rambam's lead. You have to drink and go to sleep. Why do you have to drink and go to sleep for? What's so important to go to sleep? You're supposed to sleep like a baby, but not crying every hour. Just like a baby who sleeps peacefully, knowing that what? His loving parent will take care of him. The Iker Avodah on Purim is to drink and go to sleep, and to sleep like a baby. That our loving parent in Shemayim has everything under control. And what things look like to happen in random events is just a mask. Peekaboo, I see you, hide and seek. So Purim, we sleep like a baby because our loving parent has things under control. I'm reading source number 2. Person has to give 2 portions of meat or any 2 cooked foods. Shloach one is ishlereyehu, sending portions one man to his friend. Shtei monot ish echad. V'chol amar belishloach l'reyehu meshubach. The more you send, the merrier, because you're spreading good cheer on Purim, and that's the tafkid of Purim. To what? To unite and love each other, and realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a loving parent, and He has things under control, even though it looks like things happen by chance. That's only a mikre. Mikre memkov reisheh is rak my Hashem. V'im ein lo, that person is so poor nebuch he can't afford to send gifts. Machlim mechaber, he should exchange meals with his friend. He sends him his meal, the other guy sends him his meal, and this way he does mishloach monos ish l'reyehu. Now, you're really supposed to get shikr on Purim. Look at source number 3. This is the Meiri, source number 3. On Purim, one is obligated to increase one's joy, eating and drinking, because all the miracles on Purim happen through what? Eating and drinking. So this way we publicize the miracles that took place through eating and drinking. Nevertheless, says the Meiri, we are not commanded to drink so much and become so drunk to the extent where we will cause ourselves self-degradation through our happiness. For we are never commanded in a joy of foolishness. Rather, we are commanded to observe a joy of enjoyment through which we can reach the love of Hashem and praising Him for the miracles that He has performed for us. So the purpose of the drinking is to have simcha. Simcha that my loving parent in Shemayim is taking care of me. And He's always there holding my hand. Mishenechtas Adar marbe b'simcha. Chava, why not Mishenechtas Nisan marbe b'simcha? Nisan, we got what? Redeemed from Egypt, we got our freedom. Mishenechtas Sivan marbe b'simcha, we got the Torah. What's so special about what? Adar. Right? The answer is in Nisan we got redeemed. But through what, Avram? Through supernatural miracles. So a person might think that God is only in the big ticket items. He's in the splitting of the Red Sea. He's in the rock, magic, the rock. I am a rock, water from the rock, and donuts from heaven, and the 10 plagues. So Nisan is all about supernatural events. Perhaps God is only in the supernatural events. What about in the nitty-gritty, in my own personal life? I'm not splitting any Red Seas. I'm not getting water from a rock. Maybe God is not involved. Purim proved that God is not just in splitting of the Red Sea, but God is in each and every one of our lives. In our nitty-gritty lives that goes on behind closed doors, whether I'm having a good hair day or a bad hair day, God is always there holding my hand. So that's more joy than splitting of the Red Sea, because splitting of the Red Sea only happened once in 6,000 years. Donuts from heaven, Avram, only once in 6,000 years. But God is with me, holding my hand through thick and thin, is every moment of my life. That's what Adar is all about. That's why Purim is such a great yontiv. It's such a comfort and joy to know that what I think is a coinky dinky is a Kodesh Baruch Hu peekaboo behind the mask. God is always there, behind everything that happens to me. You know, the Megillah, we read it in 45 minutes, Chava, but actually, from when Esther won the beauty contest until Haman was swinging from the yard arm, played out over 9 years. Over 9 years it played out, not 45 minutes. Esther could think, what's going on? Why me, a nice Beis Yaakov maidel, a religious group taken against my will to the palace of this pagan king? Well, what's going on? Why is this happening to me? What's going on? God, are you out there? She said, Eli, Eli, lama zaftani. My God, why did you abandon me? God said, I abandoned you. 9 years later, aha! When Haman was swinging from the tree, she realized God never abandoned her. She had to be there, at the queen of the palace, to be God's shliach to what? To save the Jewish people. So all of us are Esther. A lot of things happen to us in life, we don't know why. The ups and downs of life, and the twists and the turns, and all the pain and the suffering. God, what are you doing to me? But we have to connect the dots, just like Esther. But it takes time. Sometimes it takes 9 years, and sometimes it takes 90 years. But we're all writing our own Megillah. Every one of us, Megillat Esther, Legalot et Esther. We have to reveal the one who's hiding in my life, who's wearing a mask, Kodesh Baruch Hu. Whatever happens to me, it's all God. He all has a plan for us like he had for Esther. It's the long and winding road, ta-ta. But God is there every inch of the way holding my hand. That's what Purim proves. Pesach doesn't prove that. Pesach, maybe he's just in splitting of the Red Sea, in the 10 plagues. But what goes on behind closed doors in my little life, Purim proves that. Adar. That gives me great joy. I'm never alone. Imo anochi b'tzara. God is there through thick and thin, through a good day and a bad day. It's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's the joy of what? Of Purim, that there is no mikra. Mem Kof Reish in Hebrew means koinky dinky. Rearrange the letters, get rak me Hashem. But he's wearing a mask, so we imitate the boss, so we wear a mask. But it's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And our tafkid in life is to connect the dots. We're writing a Megillah, whether we know it or not, we're all writing a Megillah. Only looking back can we connect the dots. But Megillah Esther proves that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there every moment of our lives. Look at source number 4, please. This is from Tractate Megillah Tez Zayin. The Pasuk in Esther. See source number 4. La Yehudim Hoyta Ori Simcha V'Sos Ikar. We say this every Friday, Motzei Shabbos by Abdullah Avram. See source number 4? I think you have it there. The Jews had light, they had simcha, they had joy, and they had what? Glory. Why? That's taken, the Havdalah takes it from Esther. Why so many, what's the word, adjectives or predicates? I forgot already. Why so many adjectives? Omer Rav Yehuda, Ora Zu Torah. When it says light, means the Jews had Torah. V'chein Omer, there's a posuk in Mishlei, Ki Ner Mitzvah, the Torah Or. So when it says Ora in the Megillah, it means Torah. Simcha, when it says Simcha Megillah, it means Yom Tov. Sason, joy, it means what? Milah. King David says, Sason I feel joy when I remember I have Brit Milah. Because King David was in the shower and he felt bad. In the shower you can't wear talis and tefillin. You can't speak divrei Torah. So he felt that he's naked for mitzvahs. So he remembered what? I have one mitzvah that you can't take away from me even in the toilet. What's that? Brit Milah. That's with me 24/7, even in the toilet, even in the shower. So when he remembered that, he what? He was happy. V'yakar elu tefillin. I don't understand this, Avram. Didn't they have tefillin and bris milah before? What do you mean? Now they have Torah. This is centuries after Matan Torah. This is centuries later. So what do you mean only now they have Torah? Only now they have Yom Tov. Only now they have Milah, tefillin. Before Purim we didn't have the Torah. We had all of these mitzvahs. After Purim, after the next Purim, we began to appreciate Yom Tov, appreciate Torah, appreciate Milah. Isn't that amazing? Now we cherish the mitzvahs. We realized after the next Purim that the key to our survival is what? Torah and Yom Tov and Milah. Before that we did it as habit. But after Nes Purim we realized the key, the secret to Jewish survival, why we're still here. Where are the ancient Persians? Where are the Greeks and the Romans and the Babylonians? Where are they? Gone with the wind. But we realized after Nes Purim we are an eternal people because we observe the Torah. So after Purim we had a new appreciation of what it means to be a Torah observant Jew. We realized the Torah is what makes us an eternal people. And it took a Haman to remind us that. Isn't that bizarre that we name a cookie after him, Chava? But God works in mysterious ways. So we gained a new appreciation, a new insight of what it means to be Jewish, what it means to be mitzvot. The mitzvahs are what makes us an eternal people. Therefore, we're still here, and all our enemies are buried under 60 feet of sand. You know, the anthropologists can't figure out how come we're still around. What's the secret? Torah, Yom Tov, Milah, Tefillin. And that's what keeps us an eternal people. And we only realize that after Nes Purim. Pretty amazing. Now, what about cross-dressing on Purim? Here you have big machlokas, the Mechaber and the Ramah. The Ramah says that Shulchan Aruch Beis Yosef, it's strictly prohibited to cross-dress even on Purim. The Torah says in Pasuk Yisei that men and women are not permitted to what? What? It doesn't say except for Purim. For Vadia Yosef says that Sfardi boys in an Ashkenazi yeshiva, even though we'll see soon that there are more paskins, the Ashkenazim, that you're permitted to cross-dress, but he says Sfardi boys learning in a Ashkenazi yeshiva are not permitted to imitate their chaverim, and they're not allowed to cross-dress. Because the issue of cross-dressing applies even on Purim. But we follow the Ramah. Look at source number 5, Chava. Number 5. The Ramah argues with the Mechaber. You, do you have number 5? No? Uma shenogu lilbosh partzufim bepurim. The custom is to put on a mask on Purim. Chava, we know why. Because who's wearing a mask? The big boss. What you see is not what you get. So just like God wears a mask, and what's God's mask called? Hateva, which is Gematria Elohim. God hides behind the mask of nature, and therefore the word Hateva, nature, has the same numerical value as what? Elohim. Koinky dinky. So we wear a mask, the Lachta Bedrachav, the Geber, Love Simlat Isha. You have that out of them, source number 5. And a man dressing up like what? Like a woman. I think it's called Tutsi. Remember Tutsi in Dustin Hoffman? Tutsi. The Isha Kli Gever. And a lady dressing like a man. Remember Yentl? What is it? Look at this, Rabbi Abramson. Ein Isher Badover. It's an amazing Ramah.
And he uses the lashon of the Torah there.
Yeah. Right, he uses mamish the lashon of the Torah in source number 5. He says on Purim ein iser b'davar. It's not prohibited on Purim. Why not? Me'acha she'ein mechavnim ela l'simcha be'alma. Because the Torah asks it because you want to do immoral acts. Sneak into a lady's locker room, so you dress like a lady, or a lady wants to sneak into the men's locker room, she dress like a man. But for Purim, we know it's only done for simcha. So therefore, the Ramah gives a heter, and therefore Ashkenazim, we follow the Ramah. We are permitted. I can be Yentl, and the lady can be Tutsi, or the other way around. But the Shulchan Aruch says it's also amazing heter from the Ramah, that on Purim anything goes up to a limit, and even cross-dressing would also be allowed in order to increase the simcha. But King David says, Ivdul Hashem b'simcha every Wednesday, Chava. Psalm 100, Ivdul Hashem b'simcha. Just Adar, you have to increase the simcha. Why is simcha so important? Ivdul Hashem b'simcha. And God tells us in Devarim 28, the Teichach comes not because you didn't do the mitzvahs. You didn't do the mitzvahs what? B'simcha. Why is simcha so important in Judaism? Ivdul Hashem b'simcha, because you didn't serve God b'simcha, lo yaleinu, the terrible klalas come. Why is simcha so important to God? You had a question on the table? Well, we said v'halachta b'drachav. The tafkid of a Jew is to walk in God's ways. The Vilna Gaon says the purpose of all the mitzvahs in the Torah is to give simcha to another Jew. Should I repeat that? The Vilna Gaon said all of the mitzvahs in the Torah has one purpose. What's that purpose, Chava?
To give
simcha to another Jew. That's what Judaism is all about. So why? So that just begs the question, Avram, why? Moed Katan, page 25, tells us when a tzaddik niftar, when a tzaddik leaves this world, Kodesh Baruch Hu mesameach im haneshama kechatan im hakala. When a tzaddik passes, a righteous person dies, Kodesh Baruch Hu is sameach. How do you say that in English, Rabbi? Sameach. Rejoices with the neshama like a chosen does with a kala. So what does God do with us in Olam Haba? He rejoices with us. He makes us happy. So when we make another Jew happy, we're doing God's business. V'lachta b'drachav. So since God's purpose for all of us in eternity is to give us simcha, as Moed Katan 25 says, so when we give simcha to a fellow Jew down here, Chava, what are we doing? We're imitating him. And that's what we're here for. V'lachta b'drachav. How do you say that in Latin? Avram, you know Latin. V'lachta b'drachav. What? Thank you. Mahu afata. And therefore simcha is so important. Wow, isn't that amazing? Because that's how we imitate HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's an amazing Gemara in Tainus, page 22. Every Jew at 22. Rabbi Eliyahu Hanavi is taking a walk with this great sage of the Talmud. They're taking a walk in Shuk Machne Yehuda. There are hundreds of people there. And this rabbi asked Eliyahu Hanavi, in the shuk with there's hundreds of people, Eliyahu Hanavi, can you tell me who's a Ben Olam Haba over here? So Eliyahu Hanavi takes out his binoculars, and he looks around. Machne Yehuda, pretty crowded, right? He looks and he looks and he looks. He spots two people. From the hundreds of people in the shuk, maybe thousands, he spots two people. And they weren't wearing a shtreimel and not even a black jacket. They were wearing a sports coat with a Hawaiian shirt, maybe even shorts. So the rabbi is shocked. He calls these two guys over. These are Ben Olam Haba. He says, what do you guys do? You sit in koilel all day? Where's your black hat and where is your black coat? He said, Rabbi, you know what we do? We are comedians. And when we hear that a fellow Jew is sad, we tell him jokes and we cheer him up. So the rabbi says, aha! Now I know why you guys are Ben Olam Haba even without a shtreimel. So the Marsha has a bomb kasha on this Gemara, Chava, the Holy Marsha. What is the rabbi asking Eliyahu Hanavi? who is a ben olam haba. And Eliyahu Navi takes out Avram's binoculars and looks around. Doesn't the Mishnah Sanhedrin say, Kol Yisrael yesh lechem chelik l'olam haba? So what is Eliyahu Navi saying, and what is he asking? Every Jew is a chelik l'olam haba. And what's Eliyahu Navi looking so hard to find? Says the Marsha, the Mishnah says every Jew has a chelik l'olam haba. The Rabbi wasn't asking that. Every Jew has a chelik. Chelik means what? A piece of the pie. A piece. But he's asking who's a ben olam haba? A child of olam haba. Doesn't a child, when the mother slices up an apple pie, and there's the neighbor's kids there and her own son, who gets a bigger piece of the pie? Her own. Every Jew has a chelik, but the Rabbi was asking who's a ben olam haba. Not just a portion, but who's a child of olam haba. That's a comedian. Therefore, the best comedians are what? Jewish. You know, Rodney Dangerfield, his real name was Yaakov Cohen. He said, I get no respect. When I was born, I was so ugly, the doctor slapped my mother. Gets no respect. The best comedians are all Jewish, you know that. Joey Bishop, his real name was Joey Israel. I don't have to tell you that. You didn't know that?
Jerry Lewis.
All right. All of them, because they know this. To make a person happy when he's sad, you're a ben olam haba. You're not just a chelik, a ben olam haba. But then the Marshal goes further. Ben olam haba, even when you're living in this world, if you're making people happy, you are living olam haba in this world. Because in olam haba, God makes us happy. So when you make someone happy down here, make someone happy. I won't give up my day job. Make someone happy. You are living, you're a ben olam haba even when you're down here. Wow. And that's why Purim is such a tremendous Yom Tov, to give joy to another person, to another Jew. Now, look at source number 6. Why did Haman come on the Jewish people? What did we do so bad? The Talmidim asked the Rashbi in source number 6. You have that, Amram? So they said to him, so Rashbi said, because they worship idols. They worship the statue of Nebuchadnezzar. So source number 6, the Talmidim said to the Rashbi, if it's true that they worship idols and therefore deserve to be destroyed, then why did God do the Purim miracle for us? Is there favoritism expressed by God here? So the Rashbi said to his Talmidim in source number 6, they did not really worship the idols, but they made believe so. So God made believe he's going to punish us in order to get us to what? He pretended to destroy us in order that what? We should do the right thing and what? And do tshuva. So whenever when a tsar comes on Am Yisrael Chas v'Shalom, it's to cause the Jews to do tshuva. This terrible plague that we have now. This week's parasha, Parashas Kisisa, says if you give tzedakah, you won't get the plague. Parashas Kisisa says that. Negev. If you give a machtas a shekel, if you give tzedakah, it means we have to care about each other more. And we give tzedakah, the Torah says in this week's parasha, that will save us from the Negev, from the Megillah Chas v'Shalom. So look at side number 2.
And this is the special of the week that we give the extra charity.
The machtas shekel, that's right. So that keeps away the Mageifa. This week's Machtas HaShekel, the Parasha falls out. Source number 7. What about the noisemakers in Shul? Should we tell them to shush up? Source number 7, the Ramah again. You have the Chava. Nagu atanoikais lotzur tzuras Haman al eitzim v'avanim. In Krakow in the 1550s, the kids had a minhag. They would paint a picture of Haman, I don't know what he looked like, on stone and wood, or they would write his name, and they would what? When it came to, they mentioned Haman in the Megillah, they would bang on it to erase his name. Mocha timcha zecher hamolek. V'shem yisham yirkav, and the name of the wicked should be destroyed. Umezeh, says the Ramah on source number 7, the minhag is that when we hear Haman, that we should make noise. The ein levatel shim minhag. Hear what the Ramah says? This is a minhag. It's based on what? On the Kabbalah, and you should not be mevatel as minhag, or to make fun of it. Ki loy lechinam hikvohu. So let the children bang away, not to shoot firecrackers, because that's dangerous, but when they have the grager and to bang away, the Ramah says that it's a worthy minhag, and we're not supposed to what? Prevent them from doing it. Amazing. Source number 8. So after the Megillah, the same day on which the Jews enjoyed relief from their enemies, and the same month in which had been transformed from them, from one of grief and mourning to one of what? Festive joy. See source number 8? They were to observe them as days of feasting and merrymaking, as an occasion for sending gifts to one another and presents to the poor. So on Purim, there are 6 mitzvos. There's to read the Megillah, to read Vayovay Amalek on Purim morning, Exodus 17, to say Al Anisim, is the 3rd mitzvah, Mishloach Manot, Betonas Lavyonim, and saving the best for last, manja with wine. There's a mitzvah to have wine during the meal, not to drink wine alone. There's no mitzvah to have J and B, Jewish booze. The mitzvah dafke yayin, dafke b'toch hasuda. So of all of the mitzvahs of Purim, the Rambam says the most important one is what? Matonas Levyonim. Matonas Levyonim is the most important mitzvah of all the mitzvahs on Purim. And the Rambam says something amazing in Hilchas Megillah. He says, if you make a poor person happy on Purim, mi shemesameach leiv aniyim b'Purim domeh l'shchina. The Rambam does not engage in any exaggeration. He always says, mi shemesameach leiv aniyim b'Purim domeh l'shchina. If you make a poor person happy on Purim, you're compared to God Himself. What about you make a poor person happy on Wednesday or any day of the year? It's also a great mitzvah. But what's the unique about Purim? If you make a poor person happy on Purim, dafki, you compare to God Himself. So Mefarshim explain as follows. A poor person lacks money. What's worse than that? Lacking your life. On Purim, we were all aniyim. All of us were poor. Not only did we lack money, we almost lost our lives. That's a greater ani, to lack your life. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu was sameach us. We were all aniyim on Purim, and God was sameach us. How? By giving us back our lives. So when we are sameach and ani, we're acting just like God. God was sameach us. We were all aniyim on Purim. Worse than not having money is get a life, not having a life. So God made us happy when He gave us a life back. So we make an ani happy on Purim. We're acting just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we're compared to the Shekhinah. So of all the 6 mitzvahs on Purim, the Rambam says the most important is Matonas Lavyonim. Now Matonas Lavyonim, look at source number 9, is Laharbos HaShalom Arayut. To give presents to the poor and have Purim parties and give good cheer is in order to what? Increase friendship and peace among Jews. This is exactly the antidote for Haman. Haman said the Jewish people are mefuzar u'meforad. They're divisive, they can't stand each other. Likud, kachalavan, right? It's not the Purim spirit, right? Purim is the time to show that Haman was wrong, that the Jewish people are united, and we can get along. So this is the antidote for Haman's slander when he said the Jewish people are divisive, and we show him that he's wrong, he's a liar. We increase peace and joy on Purim, and therefore we send Mishloach Manot. Now look at source number 9. This is the Malbim. Kishnei devor nepach liyom hazeh. It says 2 things happened on this day, on this month. See source number 9? The Megillah says, Mi yogon l'simcha u'me'evel liyom tov. From mourning, what does yogon mean? From tragedy to joy. And number 2, from mourning to yontif. M-O-U-R-N. How do they differ? From tragedy to joy. And then the Megillah also says from a state of avelut to Yom Tov. How does it differ from one from the other? So says the Malbim in source number 9. V'neget ha-simcha yasi emimishter simcha. Since, how do a person have simcha? Mishter. You drink good wine, you have good meat, you have simcha. So therefore you have to have a meal with basar v'yayin, that gives you simcha. V'neged hayom tov, But also, Mordechai and Esther wanted Purim to be a Yom Tov. What does Yom Tov mean, Chava? You can't do any work. That's what they wanted. They wanted it to be like Pesach. She'ato lo yochol Mordechai letaken sheyasu Yom Tov. Right? The Anshe Knesset Gedolah told Mordechai, you don't have the power to make a Yom Tov. Ki osa ligzar al klal Yisrael Yom Tov chadoshim. Right? Yom Tov is only a Torah idea. Therefore, on Purim and Hanukkah, you're allowed to do work because it's not been the Torah. But since Mordechai wanted Yom Tov, and the rabbis were not willing to give him Yom Tov to have Osa Malacha because only God can do that, so they gave him what? A consolation prize. Instead of having a Yom Tov, they gave Tikkun Matanos Lavyonim. Tikkun Matanos Lavyonim, giving gifts to the poor is better than Yom Tov. And I'll prove it to you soon. Shezois Leikiblu, Kitachlis HaYom Tov, is what? Is to serve God, and therefore to give tzedakah gam kein mitzvah. So in place of a Yom Tov, which the Anshe Knesset Gedolah did not accept from Mordechai and Esther, because only the Torah can ask for doing work, therefore Chav, you're allowed to get married on Purim. Ein marvin simcha b'simcha only applies to a Torah Yom Tov. But since Purim and Chanukah are not Torah Yom Tovs, since you're allowed to do work, you're allowed to get married on Purim. Ein marvin simcha v'simcha, you only say in a Torah Yom Tov where Isra Malacha. Since Purim there's a Heter Malacha, you can get married on Purim, and you don't say you don't mix one joy with the other.
We also agreed that you couldn't accept on Shabbos. You can't make a kinyan on Shabbos.
Yeah, Shabbos you can't because you can't make a kinyan. But a Yom Tov, what about a Yom Tov? Ein marvin simcha v'simcha, right? So that's another reason on Yom Tov. But Malbim's saying something amazing here in source number 9. Instead of a Yom Tov, we did what? Matanos Levyonim. Where's the Malbim coming from? Instead of a Yom Tov, so to make up the consolation, Matanos Levyonim. How does Matanos Levyonim, Avram, how does that fill the place of what? Of a Yom Tov. There's an amazing Chatam Sofer. Pesach is coming up, I don't want to scare you. Pesach is 7 days. 7 weeks later, Chag Matan Torah, Chanukah is what? Only 1 day. What am I, chopped liver? If to celebrate redemption, we get a 7-day Yom Tov. To celebrate the main event, the whole purpose of the redemption, Chanukah, was only for what? To get the Torah. So how come Shavuos is only 1 day? What am I, chopped liver? The purpose of Pesach, the 7-day holiday, is only 7 weeks later to get the Torah. It says so clearly in Exodus 4. The whole purpose of the redemption is to get the Torah. So why is Chag Matan Torah cut down to 1 day? And if you look in Parshas Mishpatim, Chag Shavuos is called Chag HaKatzir. So literally, Chag HaKatzir means the Yom Tov is intergeschnitten. How do you say that in English?
Harvest, right?
The harvest. It's when the harvest is, right? But it also means, Cham Sofer, the Yom Tov that is cut short. Says the Cham Sofer, something incredible. Fasten your seatbelts. Farmer Goldberg has to give leket shikcham peah. You know, the agricultural gifts to the poor person. Those gifts only kick in when Farmer Goldberg does the harvest. Shavuos is called Chag HaKatzir. It's a Yom Tov when normally the farmers cut the wheat or the grain and they bring in a harvest. And that's when the agricultural gifts kick in. So Tzam Sofer explains, Shavuos should have been 7 days just like Pesach. I'm not chopped liver. But God knows that the poor people, anticipation, the poor people wait all year long. For when? For the Chag HaKotzir, for the harvest time, because that's when what? They get the leket shikcham peah. So if you're going to keep Shavuos 7 days and go away to a hotel somewhere, hopefully in Israel, not overseas, and lock up your field, you are breaking the heart of the poor people. They wait eagerly for this season to get the leket shikcham peah. So God says, Chag HaKatzir, I'm going to cut Shavuos. Katzir literally means, Chava, I'm going to cut it off. It's more important than all the karbonot and all the honor we'd give HaKadosh Baruch Hu for 7 days, all the karbonot. God says, cut the Yom Tov short, Chag HaKatzir. It's more important to make poor people happy by giving them their agricultural gifts on time, which is Shavuos time. That's more important than keeping what? A 7-day Yom Tov. So the purpose of the Yom Tov is Mataros Levionim. That's what Hashem wants, to give simcha to a poor person, not to disappoint him, to delay giving his agricultural gift, to delay it even by a week. You'll be breaking his little heart. He eagerly waits for this season, because his gifts only kick in when? Harvest time, which is Shavuos time. So God says we're going to cut the Yom Tov off to one day, not to disappoint an Oni. What a message. To make an Oni happy, God says, is more important than keeping a 7-day Yom Tov. And therefore, Chag Matan Torah is just one day. Because Chag Matan Torah is the Chag Shel Chesed. What does it mean to get the Torah? To be a Chesed person. The Rambam says something amazing, Avram. When a ger comes to be Jewish, a guy from Puerto Rico wants to convert, what's the first mitzvah you teach him? First you teach him, forget about J.C. Penney and the gang. But after that, get the J.C. Penney juke out of your head. After that, I would say I would teach him Shabbos, Megillah, Yom Kippur, Nida. What's the very next mitzvah you teach a person after you tell him to believe in one God and not in J.C. Penney? Like a chicken pay. You would have said. Hello, there's 630 mitzvahs out there. I don't know, so why do you teach a ger? What about Shabbos, Yom Kippur, Nida, capital punishment mitzvahs? Averis, you teach him dafke leket shikhampeya. That's so important. If you have a field, make sure you give your bundles, your forgotten sheaves, your gleanings to the poor person, and leave the corner of the field. Why does that come before Shabbos and Megillah and Yom Kippur? Avram gave you the answer. To be a Jew means to be a chesed person. So Mr. Ger, before Shabbos, Yom Kippur, Megillah, Nida, Leka Chikhampeya. What it means to be a Jew is to be a person that gives, that cares for the less fortunate. That's numero uno, even before Shabbos and Megillah. It's amazing. Look at the Rambam there. And if you don't get that, you don't belong with the Jewish people. And therefore you read on Shavuos, Ruth. Ruth is all about chesed. Ruth doing chesed for what? For a mother-in-law and Boaz doing chesed, that's Chag Matan Torah. And that's the first mitzvahs you teach a ger. That's to give simcha to the less fortunate. That's what Yahadut is all about. So therefore, Purim, Yom Kippurim. Yom Kippurim, what does that mean, Yom Kippurim? Well, the Zohar says a day like Purim.
Was Yom Kippur.
Right? A day like Purim. What does Purim got to with Yom Kippur? Seem to be totally opposite days. How could it be that the Zohar compares Purim to Yom Kippur? Isn't it bizarre? So Riyah Kodesh said not so bizarre. The Mishnah says in Miyuma, Yom Kippur only atones sins bein Adam lamakayim. You sin against God, you ate a cheeseburger, you wore shatnez, Yom Kippur will atone. If you upset or hurt a fellow Jew, and you dissed him, or you slandered him, or cheated him, Yom Kippur is not going to help you. So which day does help you? Purim, says the Ari. Yom Kippurim. Purim atones for Adam Chaveroi. If you wronged a fellow human being, a fellow Jew, Yom Kippur is not going to help you. Which day will help you, Abraham? Purim. By sending him Mishloach Monot, inviting him into a nice Purim party. That's how you get kapara ben Odom Chaveroi, which is even more severe than what? Odom Lamokaim. Because when you sin against God, you're upsetting God. You sin against a fellow Jew, you're upsetting the fellow Jew and God. It's a twofer. Not just a Jew, every human being has a tzelem Elohim. Every human being has a godly soul. So Baal Tanya says, not me. You sin against God, you're upsetting God. You sin against a fellow human being, it's a twofer. It's twice as bad. You're sinning against the human being and his godly soul.
Does Purim also give you a mini Yom Kippur and forgive you for the other stuff too?
Ben Odom, no, don't mix me up. Purim is all about Odom Lechaveroi. So there you get atonement. Ben Odom Lamakayim, that's Yom Kippur. Right? You have to wait for Yom Kippur. You have to wait for Yom Kippur. You can do tshuva every day. But you get the special Asiyata Deshmaya on Yom Kippur, Ben Odom Lamakayim, and Purim If you wronged somebody, invite him to your Purim Suda, or send them a nice Mishlach Manos, and there you'll be getting Kapara ben Odom Mechaveroi. Pretty incredible. The Riyah Kodesh goes further. We still have 5 minutes, Avram. It's worth just to read. This is the punchline. The Gemara says, Ein Kiddush El Mokam Suda. So technically, it's a halakhic term, Ein Kiddush El Mokam Suda. What does that mean? If you go to a Kiddush on Shabbos, and the guy makes Kiddush, you're not Yoitz unless you have what? A Suda there. What's a Suda? Cookie, a piece of cake, or 2 cups of wine. Ein Kiddush El Mokam Suda. If you hear Kiddush, you have to have a mini meal in order to what? To be Yoitz Kiddush. But the Riyah Kodesh gives it a Kabbalistic spin, if I dare say. And why the Zohar compares Purim to what? Yom Kippurim. So there ain't Kiddush Amokam Suda. If you want to gauge someone's Kedusha, is he really holy? How do you gauge it? Not on Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, you're hungry, you're tired. Even though you want to do a sin, who'd want to sin with you? You didn't take your Viagra, you didn't take your spirulina, you didn't take a shower, you don't smell so good. Even if you want to sin, Avram, you don't have no koyach to sin, who'd want to sin with you? Right? You're separated from everything. You're like a malach. If you want to judge someone's kedusha, it's ela b'mokam suda. It's when you're indulging. You're going wild and you're feasting, and you still remain kadosh. That's a sign of kedusha. That's more difficult. More difficult to serve God with your body than what? With your soul. Soul, even if soul wanted to sin, who'd want to sin with a soul? But the body on Yom Purim, you're indulging, and yet you remain kadosh. That's a higher madrega than what? Than Yom Kippurim. Purim, Yom Kippur. So a person, says Yari, can reach a higher level of Kedusha, strange and bizarre, on a day where everything goes. You can even become holier than what? Than a day when nothing goes. Because easy come, easy go. No pain, or according to the pain is the gain. So what a fantastic opportunity. We don't have to wait for Yom Kippur. Purim in 2 days. It's both days are Purim. Both days you have this tremendous shot to the Shmaya, yes?
Like Yom Kippur, there's also no Kiddush.
Right? There's no Kiddush. There's no Kiddush. Right? On Purim. You don't need the Kiddush. The Suda and the Yayin, and you remember that you're a Jew. You ain't Kiddush El Bakum Suda. Kedusha is measured truly in a place where you have your meal, you're indulging, and yet you remain Kadosh. Tomorrow is Tanis Esther. We have a special shiur at 4 p.m. Why God is MIA in the Megillah, and beyond that, and why Esther is compared to the high priest, not the high priestess. Esther is compared to the Kohen Gadol. That's tomorrow, 4 p.m.
For more of Rabbi Sprecher's teachings, visit rabbisprecher.com.